This is a story about a company that changed the furniture business and made Scandinavian design popular around the world. And also about a man who for the first place seems average, but he's far from that. He started the company in 1943 at the age of just 17. His vision was to create simple and affordable furniture that will turn houses into homes. He went through it all, from humble beginnings through alcoholism and bad decisions to become the furniture king billionaire. His company is the first and might be the only one that allows people to pay for goods with time, which is only one of their brilliant marketing moves. So stay tuned, because in this video you're gonna see how Ingvar Kamprad built IKEA, all the challenges the business faced and also the success they eventually reached. In 1926, Ingvar Kamprad was born in Sweden. He grew up on a farm in Småland, a region known for its furniture industry. He was born into a family with an interesting past. His grandfather, Acham, had bought a farm in a nearby village, but struggled financially. Unable to pay the mortgage, he took his own life in 1897, and the family farm passed to Ingvar's grandmother, Franziska. Franziska battled to save the farm, which was threatened with repossession. Working all hours and saving every penny, eventually she managed to save the family farm. Ingvar's father, Franz, was equally hardworking and cautious with money, no doubt haunted by his father's financial ruin and suicide. Ingvar had an entrepreneurial spirit from the get-go. With the guidance of his workaholic grandmother and frugal father, the enterprising youngster began selling matches at the age of just 5, and soon developed the skill to make money. When he started selling matches, he only sold them to his neighbors, people from his village. When he was 7, he began traveling further on his bicycle. He found he could buy matches in bulk very cheaply in Stockholm, then sell them individually at a low price and make a good profit. From matches, he expanded to selling fish, Christmas tree decorations, seeds, and later ballpoint pens and pencils, and even berries he'd picked in the local pine forest. Ingvar spent many childhood summers with relatives in central Germany, where he was exposed to the Nazi propaganda, especially in the later part of the 1930s when war was looming ever closer. At 1942, at the height of World War II, 16-year-old Ingvar joined the fascist Lindholmers group and was actively involved in the organization throughout the conflict, despite living in neutral Sweden. Even after the war ended, Ingvar's sympathies continued to lean towards the far right, and he's believed to have supported another pro-Nazi organization, the New Swedish Movement, up until the 1950s, a shocking secret that was revealed in 1994. That same year, Ingvar described his membership of the New Swedish Movement as the greatest mistake of my life. But that did not stop him from calling the movement's founder, Per Engdahl, a great man in an interview. So overall, at a very young age, he mastered the skill of sales and he understood what people need, which made it easier for him to come up with his next ventures. Learning to sell at a young age is probably the best thing you can do. It gives you the ability to talk to people, to understand them, and also to find problems that you can later solve. The best thing is, when you're a kid, people will probably not turn you down when you're asking them to listen to your pitch. In 1943, the 17-year-old Ingvar had completed his school exams, for which his father awarded him a sum of money, which he used to set up IKEA. The name IKEA is actually a simple acronym of the initials of its founder's name and surname, as well as the first letters of Antarid and Agunnarid, the farm and nearby village where he grew up. The business started out with the selling of replicas of the modern kitchen table that sat in his uncle's kitchen. As the region he grew up in was famous for its furniture business, it wasn't hard to source the tables from a local supplier. And it was a great success. The tables sold extremely well. In 1948, Ingvar increased the product range and began to offer his customers a wide variety of affordable furniture, which is sold by mail order, using an old milk cart to ferry the goods to the local railway station for shipping. The business was booming, but Ingvar felt like they are ready to scale more. So in 1953, IKEA launched its famous annual IKEA catalog and opened a showroom. Sales were okay, but this move did not increase the volume as much as expected. So like all great entrepreneurs, Ingvar went back to think about ways to make the business more popular. Not long after that, on a fateful day in 1956, Ingvar was packing up some furniture for shipping when he spotted a couple of delivery men removing the legs from a table to fit in their vehicle, and the flatpack revolution was born with that. The businessman worked out he could reduce prices and also maintain quality by selling furniture in parts that customers could assemble themselves. And this was the point when sales skyrocketed, and Ingvar was 100% certain that this is the route he has to take and that the business will succeed. Not long after this, the first proper IKEA superstore opened in 1958 in Almut, Sweden. IKEA superstores, or blue boxes as they are sometimes called, were a natural evolution of the company's flat packing concept. The company opened larger and larger stores that were designed to showcase their furniture in room settings and offered customers a more immersive shopping experience. They obviously started scaling in Sweden, and after that started stores in Norway and Denmark during the 1960s. But there were several challenges along the way. In the 1960s, IKEA was still a relatively small company, and many Swedish suppliers were skeptical of doing business with the upstart furniture retailer. The traditional Swedish furniture industry was dominated by large, established manufacturers who were skeptical of IKEA's innovative business model and low prices. As he had no other options, Ingvar turned instead to suppliers in other countries, and the Swedish supplier boycott ended up being a blessing in disguise. Sourcing from cheaper overseas suppliers brought prices down further, undercutting the competition and boosting sales. At the same time, Ingvar's obsession with extreme cost-cutting helped maximize IKEA's profits. He encouraged employees to find savings wherever they could, including writing on both sides of a piece of paper, and discouraged wasteful behavior such as leaving the lights on. During the 1970s, IKEA has expanded outside Scandinavian countries. They opened stores in Switzerland, West Germany, and Japan during the early part of the decade, followed by locations in Australia, Canada, Hong Kong, and Singapore later on. By this time, the furniture company was getting a reputation worldwide for offering minimalist Nordic design to the masses at rock-bottom prices that practically anyone could afford. Because of that, the company continued to grow exponentially in the 1980s, with stores opening in France, Spain, and Belgium, followed by the USA, the UK, and Italy. By the 1990s, the chain was the world's largest furniture retailer. Going through the story, it seems like IKEA had a very straight path to success. Obviously, they had some minor financial issues with scaling internationally, but it's not the typical against all odds situation. But how did they do it? The answer is simple. The founder dedicated most of his life to his work for more than 40 years, and his frugal approach made sure the company is always cash flow positive. You won't always be great in all fields of your life, and it is true for Ingvar as well. He lived a fascinating life. Most people brag about their money, but he tried to deny it several times. He was famously quoted as saying, "I'm not a billionaire, I'm just a regular person." Forbes put Ingvar's net worth at a peak of $33 billion in 2007, which back then made him the fourth wealthiest person in the world, but revised the figure down dramatically in 2011 to $6 billion after pressures from the IKEA founder's legal team. To make this more interesting, in 1973, Ingvar decamped to Denmark to escape Sweden's punishing tax regime. After 3 years in Denmark, the IKEA boss moved to Switzerland, where he remained as a tax exile until 2013. Ingvar cultivated a frugal image, boasting about driving a sensible Volvo, buying clothes in thrift stores, bartering in markets, and flying economy. But he wasn't as austerity conscious as he sometimes claimed to be. The IKEA had secretly drawn a top-of-the-range Porsche and owned a large villa overlooking Lake Geneva, a substantial 18th century country estate in Sweden, and a vineyard in Provence. After his divorce in 1961, he turned to alcohol to help him cope with all the fallout from the divorce, and developed a serious drinking problem. For much of the rest of his life, the IKEA boss was a functioning alcoholic who would give up drinking for a period of time to keep his habit under some sort of control. In 1982, Ingvar handed over ownership of IKEA to the Netherlands-based Stichting INGKA Foundation, a complex web of non-profit subsidiaries set up to avoid Sweden's high taxes, which has ballooned into one of the world's largest charitable foundations. Ingvar stepped down as CEO in 1986, but the company has not stopped growing. They were fast to open to parts of the world where they see opportunities. In the 1990s, they expanded rapidly into new markets around the world, including Asia and the Middle East. The company also introduced new product lines, such as kitchen cabinets and appliances, and opened its first IKEA food restaurant. In the 2000s, IKEA continued to expand aggressively, opening new stores and entering new markets, such as Russia and China. The company also introduced new sustainability initiatives, such as the Better Cotton program and a focus on renewable energy. Later that decade, they embraced digital technology and e-commerce, launching an online store and mobile app, as well as experimenting with virtual and augmented reality. The company also continued to focus on sustainability with initiatives such as a commitment to 100% renewable energy by 2025 and a move towards a circular business model. In recent years, IKEA has faced some challenges such as the pandemic and supply chain disruptions. However, the company has continued to innovate and evolve with new product lines such as smart home devices and renewed focus on small space living. But back to the business, IKEA became so successful because it was able to tap into a huge market with one product, the table, that became a big success. Then tried to do the same with many more products, some of which have failed, and then started to innovate in their own field. They realized that innovation not necessarily means a new form or design, but maybe something in the process of creating, selling, or shipping furniture. That's how they came up with the flat packing method. Also, they realized that if the customer would see how the product will look in their homes, they will be more motivated to shop. That's why they came up with the catalog and with the superstores where they displayed their furniture in a realistic setting. With the location of the stores, they realized that having the store outside the cities would be cheaper and give them more space to display their product and keep a bigger inventory. They were also quick to the online market. Their online store has opened back in 2001 when not many people were using the internet. In other words, IKEA had great products and innovations, and they were and still are bestly adapting to technology. Combine that with a frugal owner who focuses on positive cash flow and 8 years of being in the same business, and you have the recipe to success. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments.